All right. Okay, so go ahead and click through. So the paperwork, if you have not turned it all in, these things must be handed in before the 13th. You need to get them to the school. I think most of you turn them in. This is great. The participation agreement and insurance waiver are the two that were in the handbook. Your physical and the impact testing, Mr. Boley will get me that list. And I will contact you as soon as I know what stuff's not in. Okay, before a match, we have to hand in the goal sheet and the player parent. Yes, that form. Okay, so I'll be covering some of that form, just touching on it. It is your job to know this, but I am going to touch on a few points on that after I'm done with the PowerPoint. Okay, so make sure you guys do read the rules and understand them. If you have an unexcused absence because it's paperwork, you will be sitting out at least a match because you've had since the beginning of summer to know that. That's usually not an issue. Okay, the reason I changed my mind on the goal sheet is because younger kids, I want you to actually put more than a word on each thing. Like, think about this, because when you get older, you're going to need to be able to have some goals set for yourself. Some kids might set the goal of being all conference, or their goal as a team might be to make it to state, or what motivates you. I just love being around the team and competing. But put some thought into this. And what specific things have you done since last volleyball season? You need to put more than workout. Okay, did you attend Sonia's Zoom workouts? Did you attend the workouts once we got to school? Did you do any, like I can think of multiple people here that came in and did extra sessions with me, and a lot of them. Now on the other, and some of you could put, I made 2 videos every week. Some of you, I don't know if you touched a ball in June, because I didn't see one video. So to me, you didn't do a whole lot, because that was part of the team stuff. And you guys, being part of a team means you got to do some stuff that you're asked to do to make you better. So I want you to think about that. So when it comes down to time to play and you have nothing there, like I sat on the track while my classmates went to open gym, then it's going to be hard for me to go, well, I feel sorry for you. Because a lot of you did stuff. A lot of the high majority of in here really did a lot, actually. I would like to say that this was one of our better summers, because I think you guys knew the situation, and I saw a lot more out of the work ethic when we were together. And I'm really happy about that. So I don't think any of you are going to have, or very many of you are going to have trouble listing a ton of things and good things. All right, so here's our goals for Warner Volleyball. To ensure that each, well, you can read it, and I'm going to read what I have. Don't click them all yet, Bobby. Okay, so the first one, our program will attempt to teach athletes how important it is to make a commitment to excel. True success cannot be measured in win-loss records, but rather in doing the most with what you have. Commitment is not only to excel on the court, but in the classroom. Academics must be a priority. So if you are not academically sound and you're on the probation list and miss practice, you will be sitting out of a match. Academics are the priority. That's why we're in school. So don't just slide through and go, oh, I'm the star on the team. No, I don't care if you're the star. If your academics are not good and you're on the probation and eligible list, you need to pick it up, because we can't rely on you if your grades aren't good. Okay, the second one is volleyball is the ultimate team sport. So individual sacrifices must be made and individual glory must be given up for the team to be successful. Respect for fellow athletes is necessary for a successful program. And someone told me after last season, now the tough part is for these girls to come together, being they only lost one senior, and not be selfish. And boy, I saw it tonight. You guys looked good with cheering each other on. A senior telling a freshman, great job. I mean, it's good stuff happening, you guys. So I think we're on the right track with that one. The third one, we do have high expectations of all the athletes in our program and expect them to be responsible for their actions. We will pride ourselves on becoming a class program with class athletes. You guys get a lot of compliments from a lot of people because you're classy and not cocky. There's a difference, okay? The last one there is, as coaches, we will attempt to do what is best for the team. All actions taken will be for the good of the total program. We will strive to have a positive program and hope that our positive attitudes, enthusiasm, and love for the game will be contagious. All of us love this game. Coach Hoagland would not be back if she didn't have a good time last year. She had a great time, and we're happy to have her back. And same with Brianna and Coach Duder and I. I mean, I'm old enough where I wouldn't need this. I love being around this sport, and I love the enthusiasm. Right now, you guys, I don't know if I've ever had a team that wants to have open gym so much. It's so amazing. It's really exciting because a lot of times kids just run away from it. So that's really awesome. Okay, keep going. You can click through all these right away. Okay, so team selection, what we look at, your effort and hustle, getting along with the teammates, coachable, your attitude, communication, court skills, court sense. Court sense is like knowing what to do in a situation. And a lot of that does not come from our practices. That comes from watching the older kids. Ava did not develop a court sense by sitting out in the lunchroom while the older kids were playing. All right? She got that by sitting in the gym. These guys get it by sitting there and watching games and watching. Peyton might have watched what a different team kid did in a situation. That's court sense, knowing what to do. Future potential, which means like part of that is, okay, your size might be short now, but we know you're going to grow. So we might look at where you would be in the future, like maybe try to guess that you'll be a middle. Like Kylie wasn't always that tall, but we kind of suspected she might be. Okay? Positions. So setters have sometimes more opportunities because they have been using their hands. So then they're good at defense sometimes. So that kind of thing. Strength and jumping, obviously, for front row. Footwork and quickness for back row is a good one to have. Being able to play under pressure, your mental game. That one's not easy to judge. And most of your parents can't see that when you're playing the match. We see that and judge that a lot in practice under tight situations. So anybody, I tell this every year, anybody can play when it's 23-5. Can you play when it's 23-23 and not choke? And granted, you do make mistakes then, but if you're in a panic situation at game point every time, it's going to be tough. So we try to develop that in the games we play in practice. Okay, you can leave it on that page for a bit. Just so you know, age does not dictate playing time or team selection. We will put the best players we feel for the varsity to win matches. JV is based on those who can develop our varsity. We will have a C team this year. Some of the C team players may or may not dress JV. I don't know. Some years they all do, some years they don't. Junior high players will not be guaranteed equal playing time. If we move up players from junior high to JV, they will not be allowed to dress junior high at all. The only situation where that would change is this year would be where we got several kids sick. Not necessarily with COVID, but because of the COVID thing, you can't come for a while, and we might be able to have to drag kids from team to team because we don't have numbers. So the policy actually reads that players can only play for 2 teams unless there's an unusual situation or injuries. Last year, we had a few kids play 3 teams because of our numbers. That could happen, but we try to avoid that. Some of the 7th grade are going to dress with the 8th grade team. 6th grade, I'm just going to flat out tell you, there's likely that we won't get many junior high tournaments, if any. So you may not get much time. And you need to know that going in. I told you that in the note you got sent home that you're not guaranteed that. We kind of owe it more to our 8th and 7th graders to get them more playing time, especially if they're going to miss out. Because if we lose tournaments, I know one's already canceled for you, that it's hard to get you matches where we can throw all the 6th graders in. But the 6th grade hopefully will have the Y season. So that's what we're hoping for. And then you will get pretty much equal playing time there. But not in junior high. And some of that will be based on position. So I'm telling you that up front. So after every match, you're not saying, why didn't I get to play? Because there's a lot of, which class? 8th grade. A lot of 8th graders. Yeah, and a lot of 6th graders. So 12 6th graders means they're not going to all play. I can tell you that right now. It's going to be a miracle if that happens, that you all get in a game. All right. Junior high players cannot practice on Wednesday unless you make varsity. If you're on C or JV, you still cannot practice Wednesday. Okay, so there will be some 8th graders. We are foreseeing there will be some 8th graders on the C team. All right, there could be 8th graders on JV or varsity. But the only way 8th, 7th, and 6th practice Wednesday is if you're on varsity. Libby, Kylie, Haley, Haley, Jordan, and Brooke, you guys right now, to start out the very first practices, you will follow the high school schedule. Because if you do not, Coach and I don't have enough players in our gym. The rest of the 8th graders will follow the junior high schedule, but be ready to move from gym to gym. So here's our plan. So when we do lockers tonight, all the 8th grade, we'll start with the older kids, but the 8th grade will choose a locker down in this locker room. All right? And then like when Brianna's going to be here, our job, we think what we're going to do to work our end of our team. So we're going to have Brianna come in this gym those days, and we'll probably bring more 8th grade, possibly Reagan, to do scrimmage with the 8th grade team, all right, on those days more often. So we'll let you know, but if you don't know, just ask Coach or I. But right now, you 5, you got it? So Libby, Kylie, Haley, Jordan, and Brooke, you 5 8th graders follow the high school schedule, all right, until I tell you differently. We may have to move others. So Mel will have her clothes here, I'm guessing for junior high practice. So if I need to grab her because somebody's gone, I might catch you in the hallway or just tell your coach, and then you'd have to come to our practice. We really need to have 24 in our gym if we can help it, or as close to that number as possible to make it as effective. So just be flexible, 8th graders. So you guys are going to all take a locker here, but if you need one down there, that's fine too. We can do that because I have the doors open to get in there tonight so they can. Do you guys want them there for gym class? 8th graders? We don't have to do it tonight, but you do have to pick the high school one tonight. All right, any questions on that? Okay, if for some reason, like you're an 8th grader and here's this change on this where it might only happen once or twice all season, but if 8th graders that are following the high school schedule and we have a game but you don't, like you don't play, personally don't play, you go to the junior high practice that night. That makes sense? Brooke? Okay? All right. Any questions on that? All right. Okay, next one. There we go. Practice begins August 13th. Everybody get a calendar for August. Yes? Okay. 8 o'clock for setters and defensive specialists. I will get to that in a minute, who's coming to that. 9 o'clock for the other 8th through 12th grade players that are the 8th ones that are coming. Okay? Junior high, so the rest of you are 1 to 3. On the first 2 days is junior high 1 to 3 in the arena. Be on the court ready to start on time. So if it says junior high starts at 1, don't be walking in at 12:59. All right? 6th graders, do you understand that? Okay, you don't walk in. Got one? All right. Volleyball season is a commitment. I expect you to be at all practices. Obviously, if you're sick, you're not going to be there. Acceptable excuses would be emergencies or illness. You're also excused for religion classes. Please remind the coaches you'll be absent. So Wednesday nights. Wednesday after school, we should be good this year, right? High school, I don't care about 8th grade at this point. Yes? We don't like those morning practices, do we? I was so happy when Ava texted me and said, no, come, when I asked her about that. All right. It worked fine. We have to sacrifice for what works, so it was not a problem. So work is definitely not an acceptable excuse. Look at the schedule and plan around it. Dress appropriately for practices. No clothing promoting our competition. All right? If you wear a Northern shirt, we don't play Northern State University. I can live with that. Like Allison's got Wolves basketball on. I can live with that. I do not want to have to make a clothing assignment. This day we wear this shirt. I don't want to do that. So don't wear Roncalli clothing, Northwestern clothing. Anybody we play, you should not be wearing their clothing to our practice. We're Warner Monarchs. Okay, we are not walking into Northwestern's gym this year wearing an NDSU green and yellow sweatshirt like someone did a few years ago. Like, common sense, you guys. We're blue and white. All right? We're Monarchs. We're not going to go wear the opponent's colors. So when school begins, you need to be on the court by 3:35 and be on time. So there may be a change in the schedule as of today when I talked to Mr. Gunn. We don't know what that is yet. But I think the high schoolers will go to the end of the day if it changes to what Mr. Gunn put out. And junior high may not. But if junior high has a gap there, you better be using your time effectively before you go to practice. All right? Because you'll understand that when the schedule comes out. They might have to allow some work time for the online students, okay? So just be aware of that. Okay, don't click ahead yet. I got a whole bunch of stuff here. Okay, make sure you're on time. If we get started late, you're going to finish late. It's everyone's job to help set up and take down the nets. Coaches have eyes. So if Jennifer's the only one every day I see rushing out here, putting a net up, and the same people, Courtney's in the locker room hiding out because she doesn't want to, that's obvious. We know. You guys have to do the dirty work if you want the reward at the end. We just don't do the easy stuff and be successful in life. So everybody's job to do that. We are from Warner, so like I said, don't promote other schools when we're traveling. Take responsibility to know what's going on your calendar. Read it instead of texting me, what time do we practice tomorrow? Don't do that. You guys need to be responsible and read your calendars.
Do not text coaches after 9 p.m. unless it is an emergency. Not to ask a question on like, what shirt are we wearing tomorrow?
You don't ever need to text me that because I don't know. That you go to your seniors, okay? And I'll just ignore you, okay? You guys need to learn some respect. And I had students last year texting me at 11:30 about an assignment that they couldn't finish by midnight because their computer wasn't working. Well, you had 2 weeks to do it, and I'm sleeping. So are you crazy? I'm not going to help you at 11:30 at night. So have a little respect for your teachers and stuff. Just because if we are online or we're doing stuff with phones, we don't need to be bothered. If it's an emergency, if Ava's car ran out of gas and she's a half mile down the road and she's scared, call me. I will come and pick her up. That's different than texting when are the quarter zips coming in? Like, I don't need those questions at 11:30. So use your thinking skills. I can guarantee your parents don't want to be bothered overnight with nonsense either like that. So learn that now, okay? We need our sleep. Okay, junior high, the first 2 practices are here, and then after that, they should go to the other gym, all right? Lock your lockers. If you don't feel you have anything in there, then I don't care. So tonight when we do the lockers, if you don't have a lock, tell coach, just put no lock. So I know that. I don't care if you don't, but if you don't and you get something taken, I'm just going to shrug and say, what do you want me to do? Like, I'm not in there policing the lockers. We don't know when we're practicing if somebody walks in that locker room. All right? So don't put valuables in there if you don't want them taken. And one thing that I always get asked by Glenn and Pat is that you put your bags in your lockers because they clean in there. And if they have to pick stuff up, it's much more miserable. They said the girls are really good. So kudos to you guys. I know you are because I walk in there randomly when you leave. And most of the time it's cleaned up. So do put it, instead of just throwing it in front of your locker, shove it in your locker. So it's off the floor because they clean in there. We will run if we have issues with that. Water bottles for junior high and clothing down there, get them off the stage when you're done. That's not the lost and found department down there. So take care of your stuff. So we'll pick out the lockers tonight in order from the oldest kids down. The reason why we write them down is because they also need to know, like for gym class, because sometimes we have lockers and you take your stuff home, and if somebody else took that locker, then they don't know it because there's nothing in it. So we got to write them down. And if you have a lock issue, we did have one time where a student was on the road and they called back because the older kids left later and they needed to get in their locker. They forgot something. And so we just were able to look up the combo and get in there to get their shoes or something. So make sure you do write that down if you have a lock. Junior high, if you have jerseys and your match is over, change. Don't wear them around. And one year we saw them out on the playground, kids playing on the playground with their jerseys on.
And shorts.
Yes. So when you're done, junior high, you are expected to watch the other match. You are expected to help line judge junior high. All right. And that doesn't mean, I know Sophia's not in junior high anymore, but Sophia doesn't line judge every single time and the same kids sneak out. All right. Everybody helps with that. Okay. If you need to use the coach's room to use the phone, most of you I know have cell phones, but if you don't and you need to make a phone call, just ask. Don't just wander in there. A lot of times if you need something, I might say, Kaya, the med kit's by the couch, go get it. All right. So, but I don't think we have an issue with this down here. You guys have been really good about asking. I just want to remind the younger kids of that.
In the other coach's office too, down in the other gym. We don't just walk in, we ask permission. Got it? Both coaches' office.
That'll be the junior high down there. Okay?
Yeah.
It's not the locker room and where you just hang out randomly.
Mm-mm.
All right? And I know the football coaches don't want you in there because I've heard it before. Okay, appropriate socks. Are you doing the crew socks? White socks? Okay, older kids, white crew socks. Ankle braces, if you have them, make sure you wear in those. Black knee pads? Black knee pads. I talked to Kyle, or I sent him a text. He thought the shoes should be here Monday or Tuesday of next week. He usually sends me a text. And then if I get a text from him, I will let you know. Okay? All right. Setters and defense. So here's the setters. Now, younger kids, I really want you to be there. You need to talk to me after if this is not going to work for you to get a ride. We'll try to arrange a ride with somebody if we need. Okay, so setters. You got to come to setter practice. So Ava, Peyton, Sophia, Libby, Reagan, Carly, Maggie, and Cameron. Little Cameron. Okay, and I already talked to your mom. Okay, DSs, Summer and Holly, Haley, Lesnar, Kaya, Courtney, Haley Holtz, and that's it. All right? And we put Maggie for setting because we need some backups in that because your sister was going to be coming. Okay? All right. Unfortunately, that might leave a gap for some of you to practice. Like Maggie, you'll have to find somewhere to be or go home or whatever. I don't know what you want to do. Okay. So if it's an issue. 6th grade setters, though. So if you're a 6th grade setter, you do not need to come that first Saturday. Okay. So you see on your calendar, I don't need you Saturday, or did you plan for them Saturday? You haven't done that one? Let's leave them out on that Saturday. So 6th grade setters, not that Saturday, but you see that Monday, Tuesday, you have an early one. We'd like you to come to that one if you can, okay? All right. All righty, your captains this year are Summer, Peyton, and Ava. And Holly is also a senior that we can go to if you have questions, concerns, all right? So Summer and Holly will be making the decisions on what clothes you wear for matches, all righty? And if everybody plays, everybody dresses like a team. Got it? If it's only junior high, then 8th grade, you guys decide what you're wearing. But I don't know. There might be some of those this year because he might have to try to replace some of the other stuff we're doing that we don't get. Okay, in this, everybody knows where the ice is, correct? It's not for your water bottles. I don't think we've had a problem. Football comes and takes a lot of it, and we have injuries as well, so we don't want you all filling your water bottles with that. This year, you must fill your own water bottles because of COVID, and when you bring them in, so if you know that the varsity, the older kids practice on this court, you guys scatter yours here, but The other younger kids, you can bring your water bottles and scatter them down here. So we're not all huddled together when we're having water breaks. Players, make sure you're communicating with your parents. Even if you know what's going on, talk to them so they know what's going on. All right? So they're not texting the coaches wondering what's going on when it's information you should have gotten to them. So you need to get in the habit of that. I don't know on pictures this year at this point because we don't really know what's happening. So the first day is August 27th for our game. So it may possibly be that one. All righty? Concession stand. Typically we work concession stands. We're not sure. They're not even sure if they're able to have a concession stand. All right? But you guys did so well selling cookies that we're in good shape. We're in good shape right now. We're not in a panic situation. We've been able to get some stuff. We were able to feed you the other day. We'll be fine. Same with Dig Pink. We're not sure if we're going to be able to have that. Because if we only have parents in the gym, it's going to be hard to do a Dig Pink match and expect the parents to fundraise for all that with just them. So we're not sure on those things. Okay, after the matches. So junior high, after your matches, if you're down there, everything needs to be taken down by the players and put away before you come down to this gym. And coach does that too, but you have to help there. You can't just run away. All righty? Down here, we're going to kind of have to judge you guys. If it's a full house, I don't want all of us mingling in with this crowd of people. So we're going to have to kind of judge how we're going to do that. But we're going to try to avoid the opponent's crowd, especially when we have to clean up after.
If we do clean up after, please help clean up after and then go socialize so that we as coaches have things to do afterwards too, like get your stats in so that we have time to do that. So just come out and help clean up.
But the whole socializing thing is supposed to be limited. They're telling us, the lady at the Activity Association told us that we're supposed to really encourage you after the matches to get your stuff done, get out of the building, and not all go to Kyra's house and hang out in a big clump. Okay? Because they really are really wanting us to get our season in. I don't know about you, but I'd like to see what our chances are at state this year after watching what I'm seeing. All right, so there may not be many junior high tournaments. To help our sixth grade, we might try to schedule, we had to do this a couple years ago, a couple inter-squad scrimmages where when we play at home, we might just be able to play you guys against each other prior. So we might try that again. That way they can put their jerseys on and perform in front of their parents. And that way it's not so boring to always practice. But we were able to make that work before, so we're going to try that. I know already for high school, the Redfield tournament has been canceled. The Pentagon tournament is still on. I do not know anything about the other two yet. Okay? So what he's going to try to do, if we can't get it, I don't think we're going to, if our tournaments are canceled, that he's going to quickly go try to get in another tournament. Because I know Millbank canceled their tournament too. There's going to be others that will be canceled. So he's going to try to reschedule against opponents that are good quality competition. And there might be a little more locally that we have a better chance of getting them played, which makes sense. And he's not going to drive down to Arlington on a Tuesday night. It's a 2-hour drive. So we got to replace things. We're not going to be able to replace everything on a date that was maybe a Saturday. All right. When we're done here, we're going to hand out your quarter zips. The other clothing is not here yet. She told me today she'll let me know. So I'll let you know as soon as that comes in. All right, Coach, we're ready. Okay, this is a very simple rule, but older kids, I'm not worried about you because I watch you. You try to help each other in a positive way. Younger kids, this is super important, sixth graders. The players will play, the coaches will coach. The coaches can play, but the players will not coach. So it's not Haven's job to yell at Cameron and coach her. You got a coach standing right there. You got a coach right here. So helping someone is different than bossing them around. You're not their coach. Let the coaches coach. All right, and varsity, remember, we're playing to win, and We will do what's best for the entire team. And sometimes players and parents don't always see that. They're like, well, why didn't this happen? They don't always see what's best for the team because we're at practice with you. So what's best for the team, like, could be how well somebody plays with somebody else. These two might be exactly equal in skill, but whoever plays better with the other one's probably going to get the nod. Same with communication. And one I use every year is commitment to the team. So if Courtney and Reagan are equal in every skill they have, we can balance them out everywhere we see, wow, they're very equal. Reagan sat at home and did nothing all summer, and Courtney did a lot. Courtney's getting the nod because I know she's committed. And when it comes down to crunch time, the kid who is committed will put the best out there to not lose, because the more you put into something, the more you want to win. The less you want to give it up because you put something into it. If I don't ride bike, I don't really care if I'm not very good at it. But if I play a lot of volleyball, I care about it. And so just be aware of that. For those of you that maybe are equal, that might be a factor. Okay, you can flip to the traveling page. Okay, traveling. This is going to be a little different this year. Be on time. Obviously, don't make the team wait. If you make varsity, you must ride the bus home from games. If we do tournaments, you know that we adjust to that based on the tournament. Dress and act appropriately. Leave the locker room cleaner than we got there. And we're good about that. Older kids, you got to make sure you check. I'm very trusting. So last person out of the locker room needs to make sure that you pick up all the junior high stuff that was left behind, right? Junior high, clean up your stuff before you leave locker rooms because you usually leave stuff. We're not sure on the phones. We may not worry about that again. But when we're on the bus, it's not a big texting game with your boyfriend. You need to be with the team. And if we have an issue like we have some years, we will collect them. But we have so much other junk to worry about this year. You guys need to take some of that on yourself and just know that phones should be put away. Players must wear masks when riding the bus. So you heard that already. When you travel, bring along nutritional food. Pop and candy are for after the match, not before. I don't care what anyone says. If you think it gives you energy, you are wrong. It gives you energy for a short time, and then it crashes you, and you do not play well. All right? So candy and pop, save it. Don't even bring it out in front of us. Manners, we don't need to swear. We will speak and act appropriately. Thank the bus driver every time you get off the bus. Younger kids, when you ride home with parents, you have to sign out in the book. Junior high parents will need to drive. So junior high coach will help you figure out who's driving for your matches. When you're at home matches, leave the cell phones in the locker room. If you're so caught on your phone, it's different. If you have a family emergency happening, just tell me. If Peyton's dad is in the hospital, she should just say, hey, I need to have this here because my dad had surgery today. Okay, that's fine. I can live with that. But if it's just because you're worried about your friend that's not here, you don't need it. If the phones are that much of a big deal, then go home with your phone, I guess. Because you don't need them. Your people you're with should be who you should be talking with. And you should be watching the match and your teammates and cheering them on. That's typically not been a problem, but it has at some games. So even when we're traveling. So remember what I said about the junior high, when your game's done, you should watch the other game because that often does not happen. All right, flip to the next page, please. All right, rules to know. Some of these are rules from last year that I just want to bring up, or rules from previous years. No huddles on the court. Prior to each set, players must go immediately to their position on the court. No handshakes before match or ever now for this year. Line judges will move back. So if you're line judging, they move out instead of back. All right, headbands are okay. Now, younger kids, you need to be aware of this. If they are less than 3 inches in width, must be black, white, or predominant color of uniform top. Royal blue for a lot of you. So black, white, or predominant color. If Kaya wears one and Kyra wears one, they have to be the same color. So if Kai's wearing black and Kyra's blue, they're going to ask one of you to remove it. All right? They have to be the same. Okay, this rule right here. You can contact with any part of your body, so play the ball if it hits your foot. Okay, this one, the libero sets the ball, when the libero sets the ball in the front of the 10-foot line, the attacker cannot jump. So some kids don't know that rule yet, so especially younger ones. So make sure you know that. 7-set limitation, so if you play 3 sets of JV, you could only play 4 on the varsity. And that's with any common opponent. Players need 10 days of practice. Now that did change this year, but since we have the opportunity, we will try to get as close to 10 as possible. Okay, so if somebody sprains their ankle and they're watching, we count that as you being there as well. All right, go ahead and flip. Okay, COVID rules, no handshakes with the opponent. The visiting team gets to serve no matter what. There's no captain's meeting at the beginning. If it goes to the deciding set, so set 5, one captain goes to half court and they'll flip. All righty? You will stay on your same bench. So we want this side, guys? All right, we stay on our same bench the whole time. The only time that would be different is if there's an obstacle. So I'm not sure how they will play that if we play at Arlington, because there is definitely an obstacle above the one side. So that might be up to the refs, or it is up to the refs. Okay, players on the bench. Oh, when you sub in and out, you have to hand sanitize before you go in. No high fives with the exchange girl. And then you have to hand sanitize when you go out. So your hands might be raw by the end of the night, but they're supposed to have hand sanitizer for you doing that. Okay, players on the bench are 3 to 6 feet apart. As of now, the managers and stats people cannot be on the bench. That may change if they allow everybody in, because I think our managers would be safer on the bench than in a crowd of the opponents, but I don't know what will happen there. This is the tough one. I don't know how we're going to be able to do this. 1 ball cart per team. So the balls we touch are Warner. So that means we're going to have the younger kids are going to have to help shag a lot. If you've played JV, you might have to be standing and doing more shagging in the varsity. I don't know how that's going to be accomplished. Okay, so when you are serving and there's a timeout called, don't throw the ball to the line judge. You're just supposed to set it down on the end line. So if you're serving, wherever you're serving at, just set it on the end line. Okay, they don't want the refs to have to touch the ball. There may not be ball shakers, because if they are requesting that they clean the ball between every rally, which is near impossible. If there are, they will be adults. There's no way our little kids could keep up. All right? And I don't know if that's going to be accomplished.
So then if there's no ball shakers and the ball rolls off, somebody needs to go get it if it's on our side of the court. Because our refs are not going to do that.
The line judges are not doing that. They don't want them touching the ball. So it's not like you look there and wait for the line judge. Okay? You have to run to get it. That's very likely going to be no ball shakers in a lot of places because of the requirement, if there are. And maybe they'll change that requirement. Okay, this is a definitely new one. Only starters go out for the national anthem and introductions. And I think that includes the libero. That you guys, you 7 would go out, and then before they do the lineup thing, the libero would step off to the side or whatever. Okay? I believe. I don't know exactly. I haven't seen that. All right. Any questions before we go on to our theme here? All right. So our theme this year, have you been in the locker room? Make it count. This is a year where this theme works. Make it count, you guys. Every practice, every game. All right. Now, can you get that running for us?
One man once told me, if you want to make it to the top, you're going to have to go non-stop. Opportunity don't come every day. You must be ready for those that come your way. Do the work, be knocked out, and when your time comes, make it count. Be fearless. Look, you want to make it to the top. You gotta try and don't stop. Instead of staying on the clock, you gotta win it like stops. Make it count. You want to make it to the top. Go and make it count. Remember, time means nothing if you lay it out. Whenever you struggle, you can make it happen. Attack the day, go and make it count. Any challenge you face it, don't run, embrace it. See the ego and chase it, get back to the basics. You never give up, and you are the race, but your way gets up. Cause you a beast, you a warrior, that's right. You didn't know what's the warrior anytime. You a beast, you a warrior, say it twice. And never forget your character. Whether it's the work in life or for your dream, whatever you miss, there is no competition. You wanna go for the one living hard, so you keep getting, make it count. Reach the top position and wait. Make it to the top. Grind your stop. Grind your stop. Every second on the clock. Every second on the clock. You're the way your life stops. Make it count. You wanna make it to the top. You wanna make it to the top. Grind your stop. Grind your stop. Every second on the clock. Every second on the clock. You're the way it all stops. Make it count. Today's a new day. Go and make it count. Remember, time means nothing if you lay it out. Whenever the struggles, you can make it out. Attack the day, go and make it count. Go and make it day, do it. Do it every day. Remember the stakes, don't go in the way. Don't get no mistakes and disappointed and dead. But there is no way. Nobody can stop you. Nobody can stop you. So do what you do. Nothing can stop you. Nothing can block you. So keep on moving. If you get knocked down, you get back up. Everybody, keep it all that you got. Keep moving forward, just like a watch. Be better than this, and they going straight to the top. You wanna make it to the top, wanna make it to the top. Run your stuff, run your stuff. Every second on the clock, every second on the clock. Let it run, you gotta stop. Make it count. You wanna make it to the top, wanna make it to the top. Run your stuff, run your stuff. Every second on the clock, every second on the clock. Let it run, it all stops. Make it count. Today, we make it count. Today, we tell the top of the world about the career. To the rest of our lives. That tool is a soul who will not be defeated. A warrior, a beast. Someone that is not of this world. Get out there and make this day count.
Okay, this year more than any other year, you better be aware that you don't know when you might be sitting for 2 weeks. So when you're in the gym, don't have regrets when you walk out of here and go, oh, shoot, I'm home now for 2 weeks because I was exposed to somebody. You better make it count because we don't know. And you guys tonight, watching some of you at Open Gym, you made our jobs a lot tougher. There's so many people stepping up right now and fighting. And there's people that aren't here, obviously, to hear this. But there's a lot of you younger kids that are stepping up and trying to get your place on the court. And it's going to be difficult. We don't know at this point how many kids we're going to put on varsity. We may keep a few jerseys that, okay, so a couple of our starters are out, that we're going to just throw a couple kids on the bench, and it might be different based on who's in school and who's not. Because if we can play a match, they want us to play a match. They're not going to say, okay, 2 of your kids are home in isolation. They're going to want us to play it. And if we don't play it when we have enough players, it's a forfeit. It's going to be a forfeit. Unless it's a COVID situation where we can't play it, then it's not a forfeit. And they'll try to reschedule those bit. Okay, are there any questions? All right, well, before you can leave, you guys aren't going to all get up and go at once. Junior high, so 6th and 7th grade. You guys are going to go with coach.